The morning had started like any other Tuesday with Jasper. 7 years old and already too smart for his own good, he'd begged to go to Riverside Park before his afternoon kindergarten session. These morning visits had become our ritual since Nolan and Marissa both started working full-time. "Grammy, watch this." Jasper called from the monkey bars, his dark curls catching the autumn sunlight. I looked up from my crossword puzzle, smiling as he swung from bar to bar. "Careful, sweetheart," I said, though I knew he'd mastered those bars months ago. The park was quiet, just a young mother with her toddler by the swings and an elderly man walking his dog along the path. "I'm going to the rocket ship," Jasper announced, pointing to the tall climbing structure shaped like a space shuttle. It stood maybe 30 feet away, still visible from my bench. "Stay where I can see you," I reminded him, returning to my puzzle. Just 2 more words to finish. The morning breeze rustled through the trees, carrying the first hints of winter. I filled in ephemeral, 11 across. When I looked up again, the rocket ship stood empty. "Jasper?" I called out, setting aside my puzzle book. No response. "Jasper, honey, where are you?" The young mother glanced over as I stood up, my voice growing louder. "Jasper." I circled the rocket ship, my heart beginning to pound. The elderly man had disappeared. The mother was gathering her toddler, looking concerned. "Did you see a little boy?" I asked her, my voice cracking. "Dark curly hair, blue dinosaur t-shirt?" She shook her head, clutching her child closer. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone, dialing Nolan's number. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. I tried Marissa next. "Evie," she answered, sounding distracted. "I'm in a meeting." "Jasper's gone." I cut her off, my voice barely a whisper. "He was here 1 minute, and now I can't find him anywhere." The silence on the other end stretched for what felt like eternity before Marissa spoke again, her voice sharp with fear. "What do you mean gone?" The police station's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across Nolan's face as he paced. 3 hours had passed since Jasper's disappearance, and the initial shock had given way to something darker. "You were supposed to watch him," he said, his voice low but sharp. "That was your one job, Mom." I gripped my coffee cup tighter, the styrofoam cracking under my fingers. I looked away for maybe 30 seconds. 30 seconds is all it takes. His fist came down on the detective's empty desk, making me flinch. Marissa sat in the corner, her face buried in her phone. She hadn't spoken directly to me since arriving at the park, but I'd caught her watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Mrs. Kavanaugh." Detective Morris returned, his notepad in hand. "You mentioned an elderly man with a dog. Can you describe him?" Before I could answer, Marissa's phone clattered to the floor. She scrambled to pick it up, but not before I glimpsed what looked like a text message screen. "Sorry," she muttered, clutching the phone to her chest. "Just checking work emails." "Work emails?" Nolan's voice cracked. "Our son is missing, and you're checking work emails?" "I'm trying to keep it together," Marissa snapped. "We can't all fall apart right now." The detective cleared his throat. "About the man with the dog?" "Gray hair, maybe 70. I said, trying to focus. The dog was medium-sized, dark-colored. "I'm sorry, I wasn't really paying attention to them." "Because you were doing your crossword puzzle," Nolan muttered. Marissa's phone buzzed again. This time, she stood up abruptly. "I need some air." As she hurried out, I noticed something fall from her jacket pocket, a small piece of paper. I waited until Nolan and the detective were absorbed in discussion before retrieving it. In neat handwriting it read, "Final warning. Time's running out." My hands began to shake as I slipped the note into my pocket. Across the room, through the window, I could see Marissa in the parking lot, speaking intensely into her phone. Her free hand gestured wildly, and even from this distance, I could see tears streaming down her face. Something wasn't right. And for the first time since Jasper disappeared, I wondered if this was about more than a simple moment of carelessness at the park. I couldn't sleep that night, so I did what any grandmother would do. I went through Jasper's room. Not the way the police had with their evidence bags and cameras. I looked with a grandmother's eyes, searching for anything that might tell me what I was missing. The warning note in my pocket felt like it was burning a hole through my sweater. A floorboard creaked behind me. "Mom, what are you doing?" I turned to find Nolan in the doorway, his tie loose around his neck. He looked older than 40 tonight. "Just trying to understand," I said, running my hand over Jasper's dinosaur bedspread. "Have you noticed anything different about Marissa lately?" "Don't start," he warned, but his voice wavered. "She's devastated." "Is that why she's been sneaking out at 3 in the morning?" His head snapped up. "What?" "I heard her car last night. And the night before." I pulled out my phone, showing him the security camera footage I downloaded from our doorbell camera. She came back with this. The grainy video showed Marissa returning at 3:47 a.m., clutching what looked like a manila envelope. "She's probably just," Nolan started, but stopped when I held up my hand. Footsteps were coming up the stairs. We both froze as Marissa passed the room, not noticing us in the darkness. She was on her phone again, speaking in whispers. "I know what I promised," she hissed. "But this wasn't part of the deal." "No, you listen. He's just a child." My heart stopped. Beside me, Nolan's breathing grew heavy. "I'll get the money," Marissa continued, her voice breaking. "Just don't. Please don't hurt him." The phone clicked off. Through the crack in the door, I watched her slide down the wall, her head in her hands. Nolan moved first, pushing past me toward the hallway. But I grabbed his arm, pulling him back. "Wait," I whispered, reaching for my own phone. I scrolled through my contacts until I found the one person I knew could help us navigate this nightmare. Hank Delaney answered on the first ring.
"Evie?"
"It's the middle of the night." "I need your help," I said, watching Marissa through the crack as she pulled another envelope from her robe pocket. "And we need to move fast." Hank's living room felt like a war room at dawn. Coffee cups littered his desk, while surveillance photos of Marissa spread across it like fallen leaves. My old friend hadn't changed, still analyzing everything with those sharp eyes that missed nothing. "She's meeting someone tonight," he said, tapping a photo showing Marissa outside a warehouse. "Same place, same time as the last 2 nights." "We should tell the police," Nolan insisted, pacing behind us. The dark circles under his eyes matched mine. "And say what?" I asked. "That your wife is making mysterious phone calls and carrying envelopes? They'll tell us to let them handle it, and meanwhile—" I couldn't finish the sentence. Hank's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then showed us the screen, a text from his contact at the station. "Marissa made a large withdrawal yesterday.
$50,000.
Nolan stopped pacing. "That's impossible. We don't have that kind of money." "The transfer came from an offshore account," Hank said quietly. "Opened 6 months ago." The implications hit me like a physical blow. 6 months ago, when Marissa had insisted on handling all the family finances, when she'd started taking those yoga classes 3 nights a week. "There's more," Hank continued. "The account's linked to a name, Marcus Reed." Nolan's face went white. "That's impossible," he whispered. "Who is he?" I demanded. "Marissa's ex-husband." Nolan sank into a chair. "She told me he died in a car accident 5 years ago, before we met." My phone chimed, a text from our neighbor. I read it twice, my hands shaking. "Marissa just left the house," I said. "She's carrying a duffel bag." Hank was already grabbing his keys. "We follow her. But first, Nolan, you need to tell us everything you know about Marcus Reed." "I don't." Nolan started, but another text cut him off. This one was from an unknown number, sent to all 3 of our phones simultaneously. "Want to see Jasper? Bring the money.
Come alone. No caps."
Below was a photo of my grandson, sleeping on a bare mattress, clutching his favorite dinosaur toy, the one that had been missing from his room. Hank's car idled in the shadows across from the warehouse. Marissa's sedan sat empty in the loading zone, the duffel bag gone. My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I checked my phone again. Still no response to our frantic messages. "We should go in," Nolan whispered from the back seat. "Wait." Hank's voice carried the weight of 30 years of police work. "Look." A figure emerged from the side door. Not Marissa, but a man. Even from this distance, his confident stride seemed familiar, like something I'd seen recently. That's him, Nolan breathed. Marcus. The man paused under a streetlight, and my blood froze. The dog walker, I said. From the park. He was watching us that morning. Hank's hand tightened on the steering wheel. This wasn't random. A scream pierced the night. Marissa's voice. Before anyone could stop me, I was out of the car, decades of protective instinct overriding common sense. Nolan followed close behind. Mom, wait. The side door was unlocked. Inside, industrial shadows danced across empty floors. Marissa's voice echoed again, from above. Please, just take it. Let him go. We found the stairs, taking them two at a time. On the second floor, light spilled from beneath a door. I pressed my ear against it, hearing Marissa's sobs. It was never about the money, a male voice said, Marcus. You really thought you could just walk away? Start a new life. I'll come back, Marissa pleaded. Just don't hurt him, please. Mommy. Jasper's voice hit me like an electric shock. Without thinking, I shoved the door open. The scene froze like a terrible photograph. Marissa on her knees, the duffel bag spilled open beside her. Marcus holding Jasper's hand, my grandson looking confused but unharmed. And behind them, a woman I'd never seen before, pointing a gun at Marissa's head. Well, the woman said, her smile cold. Look who else came to our little reunion. She shifted the gun toward me. You must be Grandma, the one who made this all possible. Sarah, don't. Marcus started, but she cut him off. Shut up, she snapped. You had your chance. Now it's my turn to decide who lives and who dies. Sarah's gun didn't waver as she forced us all into the center of the room. Jasper clung to Marcus, too scared to move toward any of us. The sight of my grandson seeking comfort from his kidnapper made me physically ill. You want to know what happened 5 years ago, Marissa? Sarah's voice cracked. While you were running away with my husband's money, I was burying our son. Marissa's face went ash white. What? Tommy's leukemia treatments, the ones you promised to help pay for with the money you stole. Sarah's laugh was hollow. He died 3 weeks after you disappeared. I didn't know, Marissa whispered. Marcus told me Tommy was in remission. Convenient lie, Sarah spat. Just like the ones you told your new family. A sound at the doorway made everyone turn. Hank stood there, his service weapon raised. Put it down, Sarah. Stay back. She grabbed Jasper from Marcus, pressing the gun to his temple. My grandson's whimper cut through me like a knife. He's innocent, I said, stepping forward. Like Tommy was. Don't you dare say his name. But I saw her hand shake. I know what it's like to lose a child, I continued, taking another step. My daughter, Nolan's sister, died of cancer too. The pain never goes away. But this won't bring Tommy back. Sarah's eyes darted between us, wild with grief. She needs to pay. Then take me instead, I said. I'm the one who let Jasper out of my sight. I'm the one who made this possible. Mom, no, Nolan started. Shut up, Sarah screamed. Her finger tightened on the trigger. Time slowed. I saw Hank shifting position, saw Marcus reaching for Sarah, saw Marissa lunging forward. But all I could focus on was Jasper's terrified face. The gunshot exploded through the room. I felt the impact before I heard Jasper scream, before I saw Sarah crumpling beside me, Hank's bullet finding its mark a split second after hers. As darkness crept in at the edges of my vision, I heard Jasper calling for me. At least he was safe. At least I'd finally done something right. The last thing I saw was Marissa's face above mine, her tears falling onto my cheeks as she pressed her hands against my wound, begging me to hold on. The hospital lights flickered as I opened my eyes. Through the fog of pain medication, I saw Marissa sitting beside my bed, her hands clasped around mine. She looked different, smaller somehow, without her usual polish and poise. They took Marcus into custody, she said quietly. Sarah, she didn't make it. I tried to speak, but my throat felt like sandpaper. Marissa reached for water. I need to tell you something, she continued, her voice breaking. About Tommy. About everything. Jasper? I managed to whisper. He's safe. With Nolan.
She squeezed my hand.
But you deserve to know why this happened. Why I ran 5 years ago. The door opened, and Nolan appeared with Jasper. My grandson's face lit up when he saw me awake, but he hesitated at the threshold. It's okay, buddy, I said, forcing strength into my voice. Grammy's just a little tired. He approached slowly, clutching his dinosaur toy. The bad lady hurt you because of me.
No, sweetheart.
Marissa's voice cracked. She hurt Grammy because of me, because I was a coward. Tell them. Hank's voice came from the doorway. He stood there, looking grave. Tell them about the medical records I found. Marissa's hands trembled. Marcus wasn't just stealing money. He was running an insurance scam through his medical practice, falsifying cancer diagnoses, charging for treatments that weren't needed. Tommy was never sick. The silence in the room was deafening. When I found out, I couldn't just walk away. Not with all those families. She wiped her eyes. So I gathered evidence, took the money as proof, and turned him in. But Sarah never knew. She really believed her son died because of me. And now, I asked, the FBI has everything. Marcus will face charges. But Sarah? Marissa looked at Jasper, then back to me. She died thinking she was avenging her son. That's on me. All of this is on me. Jasper climbed onto my bed, careful of my bandages, and curled up against my side. In that moment, watching Marissa's tears fall, seeing Nolan's conflicted face, I realized that revenge and justice weren't always what they seemed. Sometimes the truth was more complicated than any of us could imagine. 6 months later, I watched Jasper blow out the candles on his 8th birthday cake. The scar on my chest barely pulled anymore, but some wounds take longer to heal. Marissa stood in the kitchen doorway, hesitating before joining the celebration. Make a wish, buddy, Nolan called, snapping photos. He'd started working from home 3 days a week, his desk now covered with Jasper's artwork instead of just spreadsheets. Jasper closed his eyes tight. I wish. Don't say it out loud, I reminded him, or it won't come true. He grinned, a flash of the carefree child he'd been before everything happened. His therapy sessions were helping, but sometimes I still caught him checking windows and doors, making sure they were locked. After cake, Marissa helped me clean up while Nolan and Jasper set up the new telescope, a gift from Hank, who'd become a regular visitor. My flight's tomorrow, Marissa said quietly, loading the dishwasher. She'd found a treatment program in Arizona, specializing in trauma and PTSD. 3 months feels like forever. It's brave, I replied, surprising myself by meaning it, choosing to get help. She paused, hands trembling slightly. I keep thinking about Sarah, about how grief and secrets destroyed so many lives, including yours. I thought I was protecting everyone by running away, by hiding the truth. She closed the dishwasher, but didn't start it. Thank you for showing me there's another way. Through the window, I watched Jasper pointing at the stars, Nolan's hand steady on his shoulder. The night Sarah shot me, I'd thought I was sacrificing myself to save my grandson. Instead, I'd helped break a cycle of secrets and revenge that had poisoned 2 families. Grammy, Jasper called from the backyard. Come see Jupiter. As I headed outside, Marissa's voice stopped me.
Evie?
When I come back, will there still be a place for me here? I thought about Sarah, about Marcus, about all the damage that comes from running away from pain instead of through it. There's always a place for people brave enough to face their truth, I said, holding out my hand. Come look at the stars with us. She hesitated just a moment before taking it, and together we stepped into the night, where Jasper was waiting to show us the light breaking through the darkness.